and I went into the craving of smoking. Smoking doesn't give you anything, but just because you had a craving, you go into smoking. But once you are in a trap, you cannot live with it. It makes you so miserable. You, even if you wish to, even if you have all the knowledge, the detachment from that craving becomes nearly impossible. It is, you need to go through, rehab and all those things. So it's not easy. So trust me, people who are in a trap of attachment, you cannot just tell them to let go and it will be easy for them. It is not easy for people to let go of whatever attachment they are in. It needs effort, it needs continuous practice, it needs a kind of conditioning. Only then the person can, through awareness, get himself out of that kind of attachment. Namaste and good morning, everyone. We are back on a Sunday morning to study the Maha Anapana Smriti Sutra. And today is another important session, chapter 10 we are going to cover. And in today's chapter, we are going to learn about the 37 Bodhi factors that actually are very important for our process of enlightenment, to understand enlightenment. We are studying the Maha Anapana Smriti Sutra, and to just quickly update people that it is the original Sanskrit to Chinese compilation that we have, that was translated by Anshekar, the Persian prince, who did that almost around 2000 odd years ago, just around 150 years post Buddha. So this is the closest that we can get to the words of the Buddha himself, and this is a compilation. So you might find a lot of things just brought together. Yeah, but this is our original compilation, and these are the words of Buddha. We have seen that in the previous chapter, that the sutra begins with "Thus have I heard." We should also be grateful to Dr. Lim, also known as Acharya Nagajiv, who has translated this English version from the Chinese version and has made it accessible to us as it is. So there is no too much of flowery language. There is no basically a kind of a structure that is added. It is given to us in the way it is in the original Chinese sutra, which basically is the original Sanskrit translated version of the original Sanskrit sutra that Anshekar had. So let's begin. Chapter 10. Now, chapter 10, we are here to study and get introduced to the 37 enlightenment or Bodhi factors, in Sanskrit also called as the Bodhi Paksha Dharma. You have come across in the previous episodes on the MAS about following the 37 enlightenment factors that will lead you to enlightenment. And what are these? I always told you that we will study it later. So this is this chapter where you're going to study these 37 enlightenment factors. Now, before I go to the main sutra and start reading out the sutra and discussing that, I want you to understand, because these are 37 in numbers, they are actually a sum of all different types of factors, and these factors are divided into 7 categories. So, before we go to the main sutra, let us understand the skeleton on the basis of which we will be able to study the MAS as from the sutra. Okay, so these 7 sets will help you understand these 37 qualities or Bodhi Paksha Dharma. What are these 7 sets? So let us start. The first one, if you look, is the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Now, the reason I've put this down, total 37, so that you know that this is something that is going to be like worth note taking. So you have to take this notes also. So number 1 is the 4 sets of foundations of mindfulness, and we know that the 4 foundations of Smriti was taught to us in the Satipatthana Sutra. So we know that what it is. We will study that. The second is the 4 right kinds of striving or efforts. You will have to put in the 4 right kinds of efforts to see what are those efforts. So that will add up to 8. Then the 4 bases of power. So power for you to practice this, the ability for you to practice, that is also the 4 things that we will study. That makes it 12. Then the 5 spiritual faculties that you will acquire and you need to have for having the 37 Bodhi factors of enlightenment. That we will study. The 5 strengths we will study. The 7 factors of enlightenment we will go into a little detail in the sutra. And the last is the Noble Eightfold Path. So you see, all that sums up to 37, and that is why we call it as 37 paths. So let us quickly go in summary on what are those 37 qualities. So first, the 4 foundations of sati or smriti or mindfulness. We all know body, feeling, mind and dharma. Without that foundation, you cannot practice your smriti or your Anapana Smriti. So we practice on the body, as the body, okay, exerting sufficiently, we do that practice. Then feeling, the mind and dharma. We have done that in the Satipatthana Sutta, and people who have missed that can actually go and study that, because this is the foundation. After these 4 foundations of mindfulness, we are going further to understand what kind of efforts you will require. 4 efforts that you will require to practice Shunya. Okay, so what are these? One is prevent. Prevent what? Prevent all unwholesome, unskillful means that are actually like conditioned programs that are running in you. So when you are practicing, something's happened to you, you have to be able to identify that they are not the right thing that I want, but they are happening and I need to prevent myself from that. So to prevent the unwholesome things to fructify within you is one way. That's the strength you will require. That is the effort you'll have to put in. Okay. The second is to abandon, stay away from all those bad things which is going to disturb your practice, which is going to trouble you, which is going to make you bring into more attachment. So that is the second effort that you will have to put in when you practice Shunya. Third is to arise, give rise to the good qualities. You have to do this, because when you practice Shunya, you have to bring in the good qualities within you. The fourth is to cultivate them and to nourish them and to sustain them over a period of time. That's another job. So you see, these 4 strengths or efforts is what you have to put in. This is also a very, very important on the path of enlightenment. Okay, so then that makes it 8. Then we go further. We have the 4 bases of power. For us to do anything, you need to have the power of will. The desire itself is something that will make you do Shunya every day, but will should be there. Then followed there by effort. Okay, and we saw the 4 efforts that you will need to put in, but effort to actually, empower you to do that is also required. For the effort also you need power. Samadhi, to actually have the power to go and be in a state of equilibrium is also a power. Analysis, to actually watch, analyze things, vipassana. So samadhi, vipassana, these are the skills you will require, these are the powers you will require for enlightenment. Moving forward, then you have the 5 spiritual faculties that you should have, and that will give you the opportunity to practice Shunya and proceed to enlightenment. What is that? First is conviction. What we say is faith. Okay, without that it is not possible. You have to trust the practice of Shunya. You have to realize that this is the only way. Once you are convinced, you should let convincing become your conviction. And once you are convinced and there is conviction in you, then automatically effort comes in. So effort becomes your next spiritual faculty. That is very important. Then Smriti. The reason I put Smriti is because you need to practice Shunya. And we saw Samatha Vipassana is Smriti. So when we say Anapana Smriti, we are saying Anapana Samatha Vipassana. And all those 4 terms, in short, we say Shunya. Okay, so Smriti is Samatha Vipassana. With Samatha Vipassana practice, what do you achieve? From Samatha, you achieve Samadhi. From Vipassana, you achieve Pragya, the wisdom. Okay, so these are the 5 spiritual faculties that you will acquire or you should have when you are on the path of the 37 Bodhi path to enlightenment. Next. You see, you need the 5 strengths. Now, all these spiritual faculties actually are similar to the strengths also, because these faculties are also like the strength. One faculty is there that comes to you. Second is you need to put into also. So these are the things. So when all these 5 we have put in again, because one side it is the faculty, the other side it is the strength also. Okay. Then we go to the 7 factors of enlightenment. And here we will study the Smriti, we study investigation, effort, joy, tranquility, samadhi, and equanimity. These are the qualities, the 7 factors of enlightenment that you will need or you will acquire through the practice of Sunya. Only by practicing this will start coming to you. But once it comes to you, as I told you, you should be able to hold it. That's what samadhi is. When something comes to you, to retain it, to hold it for a long, long time. Okay, that is samadhi. That is also equanimity, not to differentiate between any of these and then seeing all of them as one attribute. Okay, that's when you will have tranquility, you will have joy, you will love to put in effort, you will investigate everything that comes to you, and that is samatha vipassana. Okay, moving forward, we have the eightfold path. Okay, the noble truths, the 4 noble truths will lead you through the practice of Shunya to go on a journey, the path. And this path, we say the path, eightfold path is because it has to start with the right understanding. Only through understanding your ignorance is gone. When understanding comes in, automatically intention follows with good thoughts, the right thoughts. With right thoughts come in the right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right smriti, and then right samadhi. That is the kind of equilibrium that you strike with existence itself. This eightfold path is like the path, and the vehicle that moves on this path is the practice of Shunya. Remember, so when a vehicle moves, the vehicle is having let's say a car. A car basically has tires which have air in it. It's the air that is outside is also inside, but because it is holding on to the air, the inflated tires can drive you across the path. Imagine the tire gets punctured and there is no air. The vehicle stops. This is exactly our life also. Till the time this Anapana is happening, we are able to actually proceed forward on the path of enlightenment. Once this opportunity gone that we have right now, wherein we are able to breathe, if that opportunity is gone and we lie dead, the opportunity to even achieve the path of enlightenment is gone. So even though there is air everywhere, a punctured tire, a flat tire does not let the vehicle move. Similarly, even though there is opportunity, there is everything out there, once we are gone, the breath is not happening, then we have no more opportunity to upgrade ourselves. So this is a very, very important phase. Remember, every breath you take is an opportunity for you to wake up. Do not miss this, and consider very, very seriously the practice of Shunya. Have faith in it and practice, and then you will see what it is going to offer to you. Okay, a greater version or the better version of yourself. Okay, let's now actually go and study from the sutra. So now here it is all numbers. Okay, so please, if you have your pen and paper ready, you can take down notes also. And to start with the first verse. O monks, breath counting is the initial practice for the 12 factors. What are the 12 factors? Now again, the stressing on the fact that breath counting, you see our red belt, your orange belt is being stressed again here. Breath counting is the initial practice for the 12 factors. What are the 12 factors? So let's first, out of the 37, study the 12 factors. First is the counting of the breath to enter into the 4 establishments of awareness and still the mind. When the breath becomes calm, enter into 4 detachments of mind. Achievement in counting of the breath, for example, the count of 10 without confusion, then one can enter into the 4 bases of magical power. These are the 3 sets of 4 achievements, totally 12 in number. So they have now broken down the first 3 sets that I told you, the 4 foundations of Smriti, the 4 right kind of efforts, and the 4 bases of power. So here it is just telling us, first is counting the breath. After you are able to count the breath, you are able to understand the four foundations of Smriti, and you are able to still the mind. Then when the breath becomes calm, you enter into detachment of the four detachments of the mind. Okay, then that is basically the right efforts, okay, that we put in. Then you go into achieving, after your achievement in the counting of the breath, for example, the count of 10 without any confusion. So if you are able to do your counting without any confusion, then one enters into the four magical powers that you get, okay, that we saw, the four bases of power, total 12, okay. Oh monks, what is the practice of 37 enlightenment or bodhi factors? So, the 37 bodhi factors, what are those and what is the practice of that? Breath counting, breath following, samatha, vipassana, returning and cleansing, if you all know, are the 6 gates, are the 6 doors or ways to practice the 37 bodhi factors. So I want to practice 37 bodhi factors so that I cultivate the factors of enlightenment and achieve enlightenment. How? Through the 6 gates. Okay, only through the 6 gates. What are those 6 gates? We learned first is breath counting, following the breath, samatha, vipassana, returning and cleansing, that we have studied before. So that is technically the practice of Sunya. Sunya practice will be the way or the doors through which you can achieve the 37 bodhi factors. Even the practice of breath counting alone is the practice of 37 bodhi factors. Even if you do red belt, you've already begun your journey. Okay, once you begin your journey, you are definitely at a certain point going to have those 37 factors of bodhi actually come through you out. So that is going to be possible. You're going to see that and experience it. Now here in bracket is what Dr. Lim comments, meaning that for 37 bodhi factors, one need not practice all at one time. Focusing on breath counting initially is sufficient. He's just telling, don't worry about the big fire. Strike the matchstick first. Okay, that's what it is. So do your breath counting. Even if you are very busy, you cannot give any time, at least 9 to 0, 29 to 0, 99 to 0. These are the practices which is possible for us. At least do this, because that itself can lead us to enlightenment. It's a very, very strong statement coming from our teacher, but it definitely has a lot of meaning and sense as you go further in studying the MAS. Then why practicing the 37 bodhi factors? Why should we practice the 37 bodhi factors? Oh monks, breath counting is to enter into the 4 establishments of awareness. When we do breath counting, we are actually entering into the 4 foundations of awareness or Smriti. This is the first 4. The 4 establishments of awareness. Once you enter into this 4 establishments of awareness, that's my first is your feelings. No, first is your body, feeling, mind, and then you have the dharma. These are the 4 things. Now, when you enter to that and you have awareness of your body, feeling, mind and dharma, then what happens is this 4 you will need to sustain, you will need to actually work on. So you will do is 4 efforts. Then you cultivate the 4 efforts by not attaching to the mind. It is known as 4 detachments too. This is also known as 4 detachment. What are those? When you prevent some unwholesome ideas, like when we practice, when there is a scratching coming here, when there is something happening, we do not even listen to it, hear it, see it, do nothing. We just ignore it, abandon it. So unwholesome things we abandon, because right now I'm trying to focus and something disturbing me, I say just abandon that thought, leave it. Okay, some thought coming in and missing my count, abandon that thought. So first is by abandoning, that's an effort you will need to put in. Then comes your arising, preventing. So you prevent also. You prevent and you abandon. These are the 2 things. Then you give rise to the good things and you cultivate them. Okay, these are the 4 efforts that you put in. These are also called as the efforts of detachment. Okay, because here you use the mind to get a work done, but do not attach to it. Okay, you actually should know what to abandon, what to prevent, what to arise, and what to cultivate. Okay. After this, you go into the 4 exertions, then enter into the 4 bases of magical power. Okay. Now, reason we use the word magical power is something that happens without our expectation is magic. Magic is what? When you are watching a magician do something, he's going to show you a cap and he's going to say, see, the cap is empty. Then he's going to put a hand inside and get out a pigeon out, and we said, wow, that is magic. Similarly, when there is no expectation and without an expectation, something just pops out, it's as if it's a magical thing. So there are these 4 magical powers that happen to us. What are those? The desire, power to learn. So you suddenly have this desire that comes in to learn. You have an exertion power to practice. You start doing it voluntarily. This power comes from you. Some magic happens and you want to practice. Samadhi power, that means to retain it for a long time. You love it and you will do it consistently over a period of time. And introspective of vipassana power, analyzing things, looking at things in a different perspective, not just blindly following it. Opening the third eye, we seeing from a third point of view. We start looking at things. These 4 things automatically come when you practice our Sunya way. So Sunya way is nothing but the Anapana Smriti way that you practice, and hence these 4 magical powers, they come to you, and you need to able to understand these magical powers and use them, because through effort, through your practice, you will be able to cultivate more of them. O monks, breath counting also leads to the root of faith, spiritual faculties. Now, faith, we say you should have faith, but faith, people say just blindly have faith. You cannot have blind faith. Faith should be coming through an experience. Where will you get the experience? When you practice Shunya, when you start doing the breath counting, when you see all these disturbances, where you want to do a simple thing like counting the breath, and your mind still not able to do that, we realize how unstable our minds are. Even a simple act of watching the breath and counting it, if it cannot do that, then there is something a problem. And then automatically through this experience, through our analysis of what we are experiencing, we automatically cultivate the root of faith. Okay, that becomes a spiritual faculty. So, breath counting also leads to the root of faith. Because of the joy of the faith to Buddha, this leads to conviction. Because we have this joy of the faith to the Buddha, that is why we actually are convinced. And once we are convinced, there is a conviction. We call it Shraddha. Then it is because we have analyzed, we have understood, we have seen, we start not just blindly believing it, but we actually are convinced to actually follow just as it is. This comes automatically when you have the joy of faith. Okay, and here we have a Buddha who has experienced it, who is teaching us. We have a chance to experience it ourselves, his own way. We do the same, we walk on the same path, we reach the same destination. Remember this. Then lead to exerting effort in meditation and practice the dharma, the energy faculty. Automatically you're second. Once you have faith, once you have Shraddha, once you have the conviction, you will, from nowhere, something comes in you, and that love and the passion and the effort you put in meditation and the practice, seeing the dharma, that energy faculty comes in. See, there are people who love something. Okay, when they are convinced that they can do something good, then you don't need to push them to do that. They do it themselves. We see, for this person has all the energy in the world, but when you tell him something to do, he has no energy. This energy is like magic. From where does it come? It comes because of the base root, the faculty, spiritual faculty of faith. Then, observe the dharma clearly leading to awareness. What happens is, in the samadhi power is, when he observes the dharma or the nature of things clearly, he is actually leading himself to awareness. Okay, then he is able to see the things very clearly, strike the right balance, acquire that little experiences of success, whatever he is aiming for. Like when we practice our reverse count, we want to do 9 to 0, 29 to 0, 99 to 0, these levels up. Once you start seeing them, understanding them, we actually are able to achieve it, and there is a joy. You see, there is a joy. As you see a little, loss of joy when we are not able to complete it, but there is always a little joy when you complete it. And you know that, yes, I struck the essence of samadhi, the equilibrium that I was looking out for. The mind, fourth row, the mind becomes calm and leads to concentration. Okay, then automatically the mind, it becomes calm and leads to concentration. Okay, that is samadhi. Then you are overcoming ignorance and obstacles leads to wisdom. These are the 5 spiritual faculties. So what are the 5 spiritual faculties? One is conviction, effort, smriti, samadhi and pragya. And here we are seeing that how step by step, when you practice, these 5 spiritual faculties come forth. Okay. So next slide we go. So we have finished 4 foundations, 4 efforts and 4 bases of power, and even 5 spiritual faculties. We go further. O monks, breath counting also leads to spirituality or the strength of faith. First, it leads to the root of faith. Then the root also needs to hold on to certain things. That is why it needs strength. So this same thing, breath counting, can also lead to the strength of this faith. 1. Practice without doubt is the strength of faith. Same, the first thing, because you are convinced, you are able to practice without doubt. There is no doubt that comes in your process of practice. It's very, very important. Second, spending effort to practice is the energy strength. Because you have the energy that has come because of the root faculty that you have developed of energy, that energy to be utilized, the strength is also automatically coming to you. So second, spending effort to practice is the energy strength. After that, mind remaining undisturbed is the mindful strength. So when you have practiced your root faith, and then you are now developing the strength of this faith, you will see that the mind remains undisturbed. To keep it undisturbed, you will require strength. Okay, samatha vipassana. That's where smriti comes in. Fourth, focus on the mind is the concentration strength. Now, focusing on the mind so that it remains in the state of calmness is another thing that you develop. That's samadhi. That's called the focus of the mind is concentration strength. This is the samadhi strength, the concentration strength. Fifth is using these 4 strengths to achieve 4 awarenesses, 4 detachments, 4 bases of magical power is the strength of wisdom. Now, you have these 4 strengths. Using them is the 5th strength. Okay. For what do you use them? You use them for the first 4 things. For 4 awarenesses, your 4 detachments, the effort that you need to put in, the 4 magical powers to cultivate, all these 4 strengths of practicing without doubt, okay, spending effort to practice, then maintaining the mind in that mindful state, okay, focusing on the mind so that it remains concentrated on the subject. These 4 things when we practice, and we use the 5th practice to use all these 4 to take care of the top 3. The one is the 4 awarenesses, the 4 detachments and the 4 bases of magical power. You cultivate the 5th strength. This 5th strength is also required. Now here comes your contribution. You see, one is when you're digging a well, you have to dig from the top down. But do you know, even the water is waiting for it to come out? Because at a certain point, when you hit that border where it is being stopped, as soon as you hit that, water is going to gush out, right? So, there was effort by you, but that was only one side. The other side, there was effort being built up automatically inside also. At a certain point, even if there is a thin layer, if the pressure is more, it is just going to burst out, and then it keeps on coming out, coming out, coming out. So then it is natural. You don't need to dig always for the water, because once you have hit the right node, you have got the channel, the path is done, then everything is easy. Easy, and because it is easy, it can be done always and always. Okay, so we are on that path. And that is why you see, we call it Sunya also as a path. Once the path is made, then traveling through that path in and out is very easy. Every time you cannot make a path. Every time you cannot have different ways. So you fix a way, let the mind actually follow that path of peace that leads to prosperity. It will apply the same path, the same formula to everything that you do. So we finished the 5 strengths. Okay, so with that we have finished 4 foundations, 4 efforts, 4 bases of power, 5 spiritual faculties, and 5 strengths. That makes it almost 22. Then we now go forward. Oh monks, breath counting also leads to 7 factors of enlightenment. What are those 7 factors of enlightenment? Now, you see, the statement always keeps on telling us breath counting. Now, when I keep on saying breath counting, or whatever the MAS means also is breath counting, is do not skip breath counting. Do not skip your red belt and orange belt practice. Okay, because skipping that and going directly to observing the breath, okay, is like not going through the first gate and jumping to the second gate. It is never going to be possible. It's just a foolish illusion. You have to pass through the first gate of counting the breath, then following the breath. Okay, very, very important. So here you again, there is a very clear statement that says and endorses that breath counting is important. Oh monks, breath counting also leads to 7 factors of enlightenment. What are those 7 factors? 1. Introspectiveness is the awareness factor. Okay, when you introspect, that's where you cultivate awareness. Understanding the cause and conditions of the dharma is an investigation factor. Avoiding evil act is an energy factor. Loving for the dharma is the joy factor. Calming down the mind is the tranquility factor. Focus on the mind without clinging to anything is the concentration factor. Holding the mind and not deviating is the equanimity factor. 7 factors of enlightenment. Okay, again, let's go through. Introspective is the awareness factor. So we cultivate awareness. Okay, when you practice Sunya, you will realize you start to introspect your own self, the 4 foundations, your strengths, your efforts, your faculties, all those things. So that's where awareness is cultivated. Second, when you start investigating the dharma, okay, through the basis of cause and conditions. Why did I have this itching? Why did I lose my count? This is to find out the reason, or to investigate why a particular phenomena had arisen and how did it go away. When I observed it, it just went away. Oh, some other phenomena came, I observed it, it has gone away. I start investigating the dharma. Then what do? Is I have the energy factor to stop my mind from wandering there, or something evil to come into my practice. We don't let the mind get disturbed. For that, I need to have energy, and I need to protect that. So that energy factor automatically comes. Even if my spine, if I'm sitting for long, wants to droop down, that's an evil factor. Then no. I make sure that I don't droop down. I sit straight. This is how we practice the energy, because to sit straight, you need energy. Similarly, to ward off the thoughts that come, you need energy. So you have the energy factor. Then loving for the dharma is the joy factor. Then you start loving this, you start practicing dharma, you start looking at things in that way, and you practice you enjoy the practice. That's the joy factor that has already cultivated. Now, once joy is cultivated in, say, X, because of effort, because of concentration, because of your understanding, you carry this joy in every moment of your life. Then when whatever you do, you have a formula for joy. And actually that person enjoys every moment of life. And we see, hey, this guy is happy. He is always happy. In any situation, he finds joy, because that's what we do when we practice Shunya. Whatever the thoughts come in, whatever the situation is, we observe our breath, we do our reverse counting, we concentrate our mind on our act, and that is why joy is a natural outcome of that. And hence, you see, a person who practices Shunya will be joyful and happy all the time. Calming down the mind is tranquility factor. Peace comes here. Once the mind is calmed down through the practice, you will see tranquility or peace coming in. And peace is what we are aiming at. So how do we do that? Is by calming the mind. That's where samatha comes in. Focus on the mind without clinging to anything. When we focus on the mind without clinging to anything, I don't need sound to go to my mind. I don't need a visual to go to my mind. I don't need touch to go to my mind. I don't need my taste to go to my mind. I can go and watch my mind directly, okay, and focus on it. And that is why if we saw that why Anapana, because breath itself has no substance. It's not dependent on your five senses, not even the mind. So thought is also not related to your breath. That is why we use the breath to actually go and meet the mind. And that's where we see that we are able to focus on the mind without the use of anything. Okay, this thing is called the concentration factor. Holding the mind and not deviating is the equanimity factor. Now, once you find the mind and you're able to hold the mind on the act that you are engaged the mind in, that mind, when it is become one with the object that it was supposed to act with, you will realize that the mind and the object, they merge into oneness and there is no differentiation. Okay, once that happens, that is the equanimity factor. Just like a scale, okay, on the right and left, if there is imbalance, the scale keeps on moving. But once the balance is done, the scale stops moving. Once the movement is stopped, we say, now both sides equal, equanimity. Same happens with observing the breath. There comes a point of equanimity when you're observing, where all the imbalance is taken care of and you have struck the right balance. And the scale is now pointing in the middle. There is no imbalance and you have struck equanimity. So these are the 7 factors that you have of enlightenment cultivated through the practice of Shunya. O monks, breath counting also leads to the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. A strong statement, very, very strong statement, where it is saying that your simple breath counting, even red belt, can lead you to the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. Because people, they put in a lot of effort to practice the Noble Eightfold Path, when actually, when you are able to do your breath counting, and that can lead you to the practice of Noble Eightfold Path. The mind is in the state, in the right state, and follows the 10 good practices, leading to the practice of the Noble Path. How is that possible? Because when you do your counting, your mind is in the right state. Because it is in the right state, it is in the balanced state, it is in this equanimity state, it understands and actually follows the 10 good practices, the paramitas. And once it is able to follow the 10 good practices, it leads you automatically to the Noble Path. What are those 8 Noble Paths? Because here 8 is also the part of the 37 Bodhi Paksha Dharma. So what are the 8? The right view is to observe the right Dharma. So when we say right view is to observe the right Dharma, that means understanding. How do you have understanding? When you have an experience. Unless you have an experience, there can never be understanding. Remember this. You might read, you might follow, you might do anything. But unless you experience it, you will never have understanding. So Buddha has taught us a path of experiencing it first, then actually having your experience becoming your view. So what is the most neutral way of experiencing something without attaching it any way to the 5 senses or even to the mind is the practicing of Anapanasati. So here right view is to observe the right Dharma. Then with the right Dharma observation, you have right thinking. Right thinking is mindful of wisdom, mindful of faith, mindful of endurance. So what is right thinking? When you are mindful of wisdom, you are able to analyze things, see the the front, the back, the right, the left, the up, the down, the good, the bad. Okay, all that, when you are able to analyze it as a judge, before passing your judgment, before even taking a conclusion, a decision, even before the mind puts it into words, that faculty is called as right thinking. Okay, mindful of faith. What are you faithful at? What are you following? Where is it? On what basis is your thinking coming? So your faith is going to be the base. Mindful of endurance is again right thinking. How much do you endure? Till what point do you endure? Okay, you cannot be blindly enduring. So that also requires wisdom. So right thinking comes with these mindfulness of wisdom, faith and endurance. Then right speech is to talk sincerely using soft language, kind language, no slandering. Right speech actually follows the right thought. So when you want to see a person's thought, watch and listen to his speech. With that, you will see sincerity. You might see the softness of the mind through the softness of the language, and you can also see the kind of compassion that the language carries, and also what kind of hate or revengeful attitude or neglect that he is carrying in his mind. So through his slandering. So your right speech is what materializes here. Then practicing the 37 Bodhi factors diligently is right effort. When you put in the right effort to practice the 37 Bodhi factors, you're putting in the right effort. Right action is performing good karma according to the dharma. Okay, right action is understanding what the dharma is and putting in the right effort to practice that, putting the right action. Mind, sixth one is mind is determined. Full of kindness to carry out the duty is the right livelihood. Once you set up a goal for the mind, and mind is determined to achieve that goal, full of kindness to carry out. So it is always aware of the goal that it is set. Whatever it does in between, it doesn't matter. But the ultimate goal it needs to reach through kindness and duty is right livelihood. So your profession should actually lead you towards your goal. What goal? The goal that the mind has set out for. At a very early age in our life, we have our desires and dreams and goals set. But 99.99% people never be able to meet that goal because of this not following the right eightfold path, not going on the right path. And that is why their profession is absolutely not in sync with their goals. And hence, the only thing that they realize later in life that they could not fulfill their desires. And the desire unfulfilled gives them the reason that they come back again. So let your livelihood, let your profession, let your job, let your duty be the one that fulfills your desires, takes you on the journey towards the goal that the mind was already setting up for. Right focus. The intention is clean and pure. Destroy evil army is the right concentration. To destroy an evil army, actually, as soon as something arises, the whole evil army wants to destroy it. Once there is somewhere there is balance being struck, you will see existence itself around us coming to try to make that balance into imbalance again. We are trying to seek peace. Suddenly there is chaos that is knocking our door. So right focus, the intention is clean and pure. Destroy the evil army is the right concentration. So concentration is not to get distracted, is right concentration. Introspective, okay, thinking of the right dharma is right awareness. Once you know that this is the goal that I have set my mind for, this is the way I am going to achieve, without breaking my panchashil, without actually losing my focus, I am going to go on my journey. This continuous awareness and thinking of the right dharma is right awareness, and that is where your eightfold path leads to. So how does Sunya help you in that? Is when you are practicing Sunya, you have set yourself a goal. to do 9 to 0. Now that is a small lab experiment that you're doing with yourself inside. When you do this experiment and you are able to achieve that, you are actually being able to do the short-term goal. You have achieved it through all the following of the Eightfold Path. Because now you achieve 9 to 0, you take up the next challenge of 29 to 0. Then you take up another challenge of 99 to 0. Then you keep on upgrading your challenges. But technically, you're following the same Eightfold Path to achieve your goals. As soon as you are able to do that and you go higher up in your belts, in your practice, you are already cultivating yourself to go out and face the reality of life. So what we say is Sunya practice is BSV, is basic samatha vipassana when you're practicing the belt. But as soon as you go higher up, you'll see MSV, that is engagement with the society, where somebody is going to put you down, there is going to be embarrassment, somebody is going to say something to you, triggering a lot of thoughts coming in, you are going to feel sad, you're going to feel all these things, disturbances, and you're going to lose focus. What you set out for, you're not able to do it, you let go. That's when you failed your Shunya in MSV. So you might be successful in BSV, but you need to carry that lab experiment into reality, making sure that what you cultivated in the lab is able to be mass produced in reality, in you can say the real world. And that is why the journey are two different, but the path is the same. So what I mean to say is, if you are not able to do something in MSV, come back. Come back. That's what returning is, this fifth gate. Come back, practice BSV again. Go back. Try again. Never give up. Once you set up a goal, make sure that the goal is the target that you achieve. Whatever comes in the way, keep on trying and trying and trying and trying. That's exactly what the Eightfold Path is all about. Okay. And Shunya is the way to cultivate that Eightfold Path. And here very clearly it is said, O monks, breath counting also leads to the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a very, very strong statement. And that ensures us and assures us that by practice of Shunya, the Eightfold Path will be automatically cultivated. I don't need to take a pen and paper to see which path I'm following, whether I am doing this or not. My right livelihood, my concentration, my awareness, and all those things, my right speech, my right thoughts, my right understanding, all automatically come in. I don't have to do effort for that. Okay. Next slide. O monks, what is the evil army that disturbs the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path? What is it? This evil army. This evil army is the attractive form, the attractive sound, the attractive smell, the attractive taste, and the lustful touch are the evil army. What is the evil army? The five senses and their objects. Okay, so you should understand these evil armies, why is it evil? Because it is distracting me from achieving what I'm setting out for the goal that I want to do. So naturally, this is going to be the world that you're going to engage with, the world around. People are going to distract you using these five evil armies, and you should be able to make sure that you are rejecting them and destroying this army. Very easy, to destroy this army. Just reject them. Just abandon them. Prevent yourself from falling prey to this. That's where the effort comes in. Okay. Once you're able to abandon them, reject them, avoid them, you're able to prevent yourself. You're already cultivating yourself on the 37 Bodhi Paksha Dharma. Observe one's own body. Then observe another's body. Refrain from lust and adultery. Hold the present mind and other minds. Okay. Now here we are doing the four establishments of or four foundations of Smriti. How? Body. So observing one's body, observing another's body, refraining from the lust and adultery, holding the present mind and other minds that arise. That's the way you observe the body. How do you observe the feeling? Observe the feeling. The pain, the pleasure of self, pain and pleasure of others, prevent arising of anger. These are the way you observe feeling. Observe the mind of self, observe the mind of others, overcome ignorance is how you cultivate observing the mind. Observe the dharma and phenomena associated with self, associated with others, and understand the dharma. This is the way you observe the dharma. Totally is known as 4 establishments of awareness of or foundations of Smriti. Details you can get in the Satipatthana Sutra, where you will study more in detail about the how you can cultivate and practice the 4 foundations of Sati. Now the 4 detachments. Okay, you see now here we are doing kind of a revision. Remember, this is MAS is a compilation sutra. Okay, we should thank Anshekar for compiling this sutra so that we have one consolidated sutra which has the practice of Anapana Smriti completely explained in it. This also is our manual of Sunya. So now we are studying, we finished the 4 foundations in brief. Now we are going to understand what are the 4 right detachments or exertions. Now you see, detachment is an effort, is an exertion, okay? It's not something that you can just loosely say, I can detach myself. For detachment, you need to put in effort. It's not so easy to let go. Remember this. People think let go is very easy. No, it's one of the most difficult things that one has to put in effort to practice. Okay? Detach from the body to prevent lust. Lust is calling you. All the 5 senses, the evil army is about to distract you. Take away your attention from the path you are setting out yourself for. So, to detach the body to prevent lust. Detach from pain and pleasure is to detach or prevent detachment to 5 enjoyment from 5 senses. Detach from the mind. Prevent the attachment to mind and habit. Detach from all dharma, not to pursue the bad karma for the bad livelihood. Totally are the 4 detachments or exertions. When you are practicing Satipatthana, when you are practicing on body, feelings, mind and dharma itself, because you are using them to practice, there is a natural tendency for us to get attached to it. Making sure that you are not attached to these 4 practices also is an exertion. So that requires your 4 detachment practices. This is what this says. Then, understanding suffering, that the nature of the world is suffering. One suffers because of the body, which suffers the sickness, old age and perishable. Okay, understanding. Now here you are cultivating the first path of your Noble Eightfold Path, understanding that in reality the world is full of suffering, the nature of the world is suffering. Okay. Second, using suffering as the basis to analyze the cause and conditions, what we have seen is the accumulation of habits and karma. Why are we suffering? Because we have certain habits which are pre-programmed because of conditioning. That leads to certain kind of actions that we do, the karma. Once we start using this understanding that the world is full of suffering, but there has to be a cause that leads for the manifestation of suffering, leads to the conditioning of habits that we are having and the fruiting of the karma. So what? There has to be something beyond that. But analyzing that through cause and condition is the second one. Third, understanding the cause and conditions for the suffering. Extinguishing the mind and see that all the objects are not permanent and get rid of the suffering. What is the third realization, the truth that we can witness is that all the cause and conditions for the suffering, they do arise, and there is a way I can actually extinguish their arriving by extinguishing the mind. Okay, and see all the objects as not permanent. That's what we do. Even when you practice, we observe the dharma. We know that everything that is born will follow the death, and everything that is born and is going to perish will have its own life cycle. But we know that if we create the good conditions, we can have a longer cycle of that. If we create bad conditions, then we are making sure that it doesn't exist too long. So now what I'm saying is conditions are the way basis on which you can give rise to dharma or you can end the dharma. So conditions are something that happen in the moment, in the experiences, and hence we see that cause and conditions, they lead to a suffering, but Because there is a cause and I have the control on managing the conditions, I can change the consequence of suffering. This is the hope that we have that helps us to even get out of the cycle of life and death and achieve nirvana. Fourth, truth. The monk always thinks of the Noble Eightfold Path and continuously practices according to the Noble Path. What is the fourth one? Is that he continuously thinks there is a path, the Noble Eightfold Path, and he practices this Noble Eightfold Path. He does not go astray. He remains on that Noble Eightfold Path. This is how he actually practices the Four Noble Truths. Above are the Four Noble Truths: suffering, reality, that the world is full of suffering. There is a cause to this suffering. There is the end to this suffering because there is a cause. And there is a practice that can help us to end all the suffering. These are the Four Noble Truths, which can lead to the four establishments of awareness, four right detachments, and finally the four magical powers that you can acquire because you are following the Four Noble Truths on the Eightfold Path that you get through the practice of Sunya. And here you see that they will lead us to the four establishments of awareness, the right detachments, and the four magical powers. Which are the four magical powers? Will, effort, samadhi, and analysis. If somebody gets this magical power, can actually magically turn his life to something amazing. This is also the door for prosperity. Remember this, because if you want to make your life magical, you need these four elements: will, effort, samadhi, and analysis. And these are the four magical powers that you can acquire through the practice of Sunya. Believing in Buddha and feeling joy. Okay, now we are talking about the 5 spiritual roots or faculties that you can cultivate. How? Believing in Buddha and feeling joy is the root of faith or faith faculty. So you need to have belief in your teacher, in your guide. And only when you have that belief, the joy to be with him, to study with him, to acquire the knowledge from him comes in. So for us, Buddha is a teacher, and we know that his teaching gives us a kind of joy, a feeling of joy. And that is why faith, the root of faith, is cultivated in the Buddha. Practicing the Dharma diligently, observing the body by 4 noble truths, follow and observe the mind, is the energy faculty. By observing, we see the sense of what we are doing, and then we automatically have the energy to keep on doing that, because the faith, the joy, gives us the energy to keep on doing what we are doing. Third one is analyze the 4 noble truths and understand it well, is the awareness faculty. Understanding the reality of life through the 4 noble truths is the awareness faculty. Focus on the 4 noble truths and hold the mind is the concentration or samadhi faculty. Focusing on the 4 noble truths, then using that to hold the mind and concentration is the samadhi faculty. Using the right view, studying the 4 noble truths and understanding the truth is the wisdom faculty. Applying what you have experienced and analyzing that experience is the wisdom faculty. All these dharma faculties are known as 5 spiritual faculties or roots. Moving on, believing in the 4 noble truths and having no doubt in it is the strength in faith or conviction. Okay, we cultivated the 5 spiritual faculty roots. Now the same thing are also going to be the strength. Okay, once you have the root, the strength is there. Remember, once the tree's roots are deep rooted, the tree automatically becomes strong. Now these strengths, these 5 strengths that come because of your root faculties, what are those? First is believing in the 4 noble truths and having no doubt in it is the strength in the faith or conviction. Because of the strength in the faith and conviction, you will never lose your path. Okay, so the believe in the 4 noble truths. Practice the dharma and remove the greed and lust in the mind. From the 4 noble truths, motivate oneself to exert energy. Through the 4 noble truths, continuously exerting energy to understanding the Dharma and practicing the Dharma is the strength of energy. When ill thought is about to arise, abolish it on the spot, using the Four Noble Truths to contain the mind. Nothing can corrupt the mind is the awareness strength. When you get the awareness strength, then whatever happens, nothing is going to take you away from your awareness. You will always use the Four Noble Truths, the understanding of the Four Noble Truths, to ward off all the evil thing that comes at the very spot, not even carry it along. At that very spot, you can do that. So that strength is the awareness strength. Observing internally and externally, feeling calm and samadhi from the Four Noble Truths and preventing evil thought from corrupting the mind is the concentration strength. The strength to prevent any evil thought from distracting you, taking your attention internally, externally away from you, is the concentration strength that you can acquire. That is the strength of dhyana. The mind holds into the four dhyanas, realizing the wisdom from the Four Noble Truths. Ill thought cannot destroy the wisdom, is the wisdom strength. Once you acquire prajna, the wisdom, the clarity, then no way you can be, distracted by the evil things of the senses. Practicing in and out, after the practice can revise and restart the practice again. These are known as the five strengths. What does strength do? What are these five strengths for? These five strengths help you in your fifth gate to go back. When somebody hurts us, somebody says something bad to us, we get distracted, somebody demotivates us, you have a very clear idea about achieving a particular target, but something happens and you get distracted. You need these five strengths to bring you back on track, returning again from zero and again starting it over. Not letting go is these five strengths, and these five strengths are your spiritual strengths that will make sure that whatever happens, you're able to reach your destination. Imagine these five strengths were the basis on which even Xuanzang, when he left the central China to come to India, to Nalanda, to meet his teacher, it was a long and very, very difficult journey through mountains, through climatic conditions of snows, the desert without water, all the delusions, illusions, distractions. But because of these five strengths, his faith, his endurance, his effort, his clarity of what he wanted, not getting distracted, remaining concentrated, focused, he did not worry at all, kept on going, and finally he reaches and meets his teacher, Shila Bhadra, in Nalanda. So you should understand that you need these five strengths with you, the faculties. Where do you get that from? By the practice of Sunya. Sunya empowers you with these strengths. This gives you that inner strength to continue your journey. So when you are able to continue journey A, that experience of journey A can take you along many journeys. So make sure that journey A is Sunya, where you start practicing every day, cultivating these strengths, the five strengths. Moving on. Now, from the Four Noble Truths, thinking over the Four Noble Truths, be introspective, realize the Dharma is known as the factor of awareness. Again, we are repeating most of the thing again. The Four Noble Truths, thinking of the Noble Truths, Four Noble Truths, introspecting and realizing the Dharma is known as the factor of awareness. From the Four Noble Truths, observing the Four Noble Truths is to understand the Dharma from the name and form. Aware of death and life is the factor of investigation. So, investigating the Dharma through name and form, knowing the impermanence of things, is the investigating factor. From the Four Noble Truths, observing the body, observing the mind, continuously exerting practice, holding the Dharma without fail is the factor of energy. Understanding the Four Noble Truths fully and delighted by it is the factor of joy. Practicing the dharma, following the four noble truths. Okay, are we on fifth? Okay, fifth. Practicing the dharma, following the four noble truths, achieving calm and serenity is the factor of tranquility. Feeling stable and well rested, focusing on the four noble truths is a single mind, is the factor of concentration. After the samadhi, achieving the freedom from the four noble truths, when applying the mind to think and act, always following the dharma, is the factor of equanimity. Above factors that apply the four noble truths on the mind are known as the 7 factors of enlightenment. Now, how using the four noble truths and applying them in the 7 factors of enlightenment, one can experience enlightenment through samatha vipassana, through the practice. So, you see, four noble truths play a very important role when you are embarking on your journey on the eightfold noble path. For that, there are certain factors that when you apply the four noble truths, even on these 37 factors, the bodhi factors, you will realize they all can be applied in different ways. Follow the four noble truths firmly is to follow the noble path. This is what I just said. From the four noble truths, understand the right way and practice accordingly. Four noble truths become our guide. They are the compass when we are navigating ourselves in the journey towards our goal. Okay? And our goal is very simple. Liberation. Liberation we have defined in Sunya as peace and prosperity. Liberation of a suffering mind by giving it peace. Liberation from the suffering life is by giving it prosperity. And that compass that is needed when we embark on this journey of peace and prosperity is the compass of four noble truths. We have to know this very, very clearly. The first, and when you embark on the journey, the first path is the right view. With the right view, understand the dharma and the four noble truths will give you the right view. Once you understand, you look at the compass and you see, oh, this is where I have to go. That's the right view. Then, second path is the right thought. Always thinking of the dharma. Once you get the direction, then your thought should follow the right view. Okay, that itself is thinking of the right dharma. The third is right speech. Using soft, kind and pleasant speech, you should embark on your journey. So, your language will reflect your thought. I told you, your thought is an outcome of your view. So, keep your words aligned to the goals you're setting out for. Don't let your words be mingling with all the evil thoughts or distracted ideas that come in. Let your speech be in align with the thought. Let your thought be in align with your view. Your view aligned with the goal. Remember, the Four Noble Truths is your compass. Once you have set yourself on a direction, use the Four Noble Truths as a compass and guide yourself towards your destination. The fourth path is the right effort. Right effort should be exactly what you speak. Once you speak, make sure you do. Otherwise, don't speak. What you speak, make sure you think. Otherwise, don't speak. What you think, make sure it has the right view. Otherwise, don't think. This is exactly what we are doing here. Removing the thought that is not according to the right dharma. Apply the Four Noble Truths to observe the body and mind. Practice diligently without fail. How do you practice diligently without fail? When you fail, you practice again. Till the time there is no fail is what we say, practice diligently without fail. But failure will come. But make sure that you practice so that failure does not come, is practicing diligently without fail. The fifth is the right action. Do not follow the four wrong views that the body is permanent, that joy is permanent, the body has a self, you're separate, and the body is clean. This is how you practice on the four wrong views. Make sure that you don't follow them. Remove the corrupted thought that fails to do good and attach to craving. Remove any thought that's going to give you attachment, that's going to take you away from the path, is what we say is right action. So right action should follow the right effort. Okay? Right effort should follow the right speech. Right speech is what should follow the right thought. Right thought is when you have the right view, and right view leads you to using the compass of the Four Noble Truths to show you the direction. Okay, I'm keeping on going reverse so that it again hits your mind and you know that this is how is my journey going to go. Remove the sixth is the right livelihood. People are looking for career guidance, what career I should follow. It should match with your goal, with your view. So your sixth one is the right livelihood. Using the right action, right effort, right mind, earn a right living. We can do that. Okay. This is your right livelihood. Livelihood is something that people should identify you with. When they look at you, they should know where you're heading. When they see you, they should know what you are. When they actually watch you, they know that this is what you're going to give to the world. So your journey should be visible and your livelihood should decide that. Okay? Your profession, your career, your job should be in alignment with the compass, with the right view. Remember this, your Four Noble Path, Four Noble Truths. The seventh is right concentration. The mind is not corrupted, focused and entered into samadhi. When you're doing your livelihood, make sure that your concentration does not distract you from that right livelihood. Many things will distract you. When you are trying to start your career, you're embarked on a journey of your profession, there will be many disturbances, and that is why many people give up and they do not continue on the journey that they embark, because they compromise. They compromise with life. Life is not here for compromise. Life here is for concentration. It is to be concentrating yourself on the goal that you are setting out for. You need a compass. You need a livelihood. Okay? Make sure that the livelihood is there. The eighth is the right awareness. Mindful not to fall into the four wrong views. The eighth is right awareness. So make sure you don't fall into the four wrong views. Mindful of the Four Noble Truths. The followers of Buddha always follow the above noble path, known as the Noble Eightfold Path. So if you are the follower of Buddha, you have faith in him, you know that he is the one who actually had experienced the peace and tranquility of life. Okay, he was always satisfied. He showed us the way. We want to follow him. Then you need to follow the Eightfold Path. But this path, the compass is the Four Noble Truths. That Four Noble Truths are going to lead you on the path of this Eightfold Path. Now, as I told you, this is a vehicle. This opportunity, this body, our body is moving forward on this Eightfold Path through the inflated tires, that is our breath. Till the time the tires are inflated, we will be able to move. Once the breath gone, everything gone. Make sure that you travel on this right path, okay, through right effort, right action, right livelihood, right thinking, right, everything right. How is that possible? Using the Four Noble Truths as our guiding compass. O monks, above are the great practices. This is the great practice. This is the great vehicle that we are in. Yana means a vehicle. This is, Maha means great. This is the great vehicle that can lead us to Buddhahood, that can lead us to ending all kind of suffering and liberate us. Liberation from the mental suffering that will give us peace. Liberation from this materialistic suffering that will give us prosperity. So that is what Buddhahood is. Buddhahood is complete liberation from mental and the material world. Okay, once you are free from these kind of suffering, then you have achieved Buddhahood. And this is chapter 10 is that journey. The 37 Bodhi Paksha Dharma is that. So Today we had a very detailed, okay, but very, very surgically perfect way in which you can analyze your practice of Sunya. And 37 Bodhipaksha is that path that you have to have within these factors that you need to cultivate within yourself to actually achieve the enlightenment, the liberation that we are seeking for. Okay, so that brings us to the end of chapter 10, the introduction to the 37 enlightenment of Bodhi factors. And we see you next week again on Saturday and Sunday with the another 2 chapters of the Maha Anapana Smriti Sutra. It is fun studying the Maha Anapana Smriti Sutra with you all. And please remember, this is the manual of the practice of Shunya. And it is very important that every Shunyati understands, reads and applies this study of the Maha Anapana Smriti Sutra in their practice, both in BSV and MSV. Okay, to see you till next week. Till then, bye-bye. Namaste.